Hello viewers, you are welcome to Yinki Culture channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make a tube dress, a Bustier tube dress like the one you're seeing on the screen. And the first thing you're going to do is to know the type of measurement, the kind of measurement you need to take to make this dress. And you need the shoulder, the nipple to nipple measurement, the bust, the circumference and the vertical measurement of the bust. The vertical means placing your tape measure from the shoulder through to the bust point, to the waist, to the hip, and to dress length. So having gotten all these measurements, you're going to get a fresh paper, then mark a straight line where this will serve as your boundary where you are going to start taking your measurement from. Then you take your dress length. So for this tutorial, I'll be using dress length 38 inches. So from there, just take a straight ruler to indicate this line also. And so we have measured our dress length. Then after that, you take your shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then after you have done that, the next thing to do is to take all the vertical measurement. So I'll be taking the bust. This will be like I'm placing the tape measure on my shoulder and take the bust, the under bust, the waist and the hip, and also okay, we have taken the dress length. So I'm indicating that with my straight ruler. All the vertical measurements indicated with the straight ruler and label it. The bust is B, under bust is UB, half length or waist, hip is HP, and the shoulder is on the starting line. So after that, the next thing to do is to get our upper chest, and the upper chest measurement is placing your tape measure 2 inches from the bust line. So 2 inches away from the bust line. So indicate it with a straight line also, and this will serve as the upper chest. Just the way you take the measurement for your basic bodies. If you haven't watched my video on basic bodies, I advise you to do that in order to understand this more. So the next thing to do is to connect the shoulder line to the upper chest to have my armhole length. So this is the armhole line. Then from there I can take the armhole cuff like so. Just place your pattern paper like so and take your armhole cuff. So all I'm doing is the basic bodice pattern drafting. So having done that, the next thing to do is to use the nipple to nipple measurement to place our dart. So the nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches. 7 inches divided by 2, I will have 3.5 or 3.5. So I'm going to take 3.5 on the bust, on the under bust, and on the waistline. So then on the hip, I'll also take the measurement there, then I'll connect it with a straight line. So from here, we have started modifying our basic bodice measurement. So the next thing to do is to input a dart of 1.5. So I'll be dividing the dart by 2. So dividing 1.5 by 2, I will have 0.75. 0.75 or 3/4. So I'll be placing the dart of 0.75 on either side of the straight line that I just measured. So this is 1.5 on my tape measure. If it's difficult for you to divide 1.5, just this is dividing it on your tape measure will be easier. 1.5 has been divided on my tape measure, so I'll be able to place it like so. I'll centralize the point that is in the middle. I'll centralize it like so, then take the measurement like so. You can see the way I placed it. I just divided my tape measure on 1.5 by, I divided it into 2, and I took the measurement on either side of the straight line that I took. That I mean the dart leg. So take 1 inch down from the bust point. Come down by 1 inch from the bust point. Then connect your dart intake like so. Then from the hip line also go up by 2 inches and connect the dart to the point. So connecting it to the point is very easy. Just connect like so. So on the, that means on the underbust and on the half length, we have a dart intake of 1.5. You can go further, you can make the bust point to the dart to be 2 inches. It depends on you. So here right now I will shade this. The shaded part will be removed because I don't need it. That's the dart that will be taken off. And also I can take my measurement now, but I'll connect it later. But I can place all the measurements now. On the bust line, I'll divide my circumference measurement of the bust by 4. I have 9. And on the under bust, that intake of 1.5 inch will be added to the under bust circumference divided by 4. So, and also on the waistline, I'm going to add the dart intake of 1.5 will be added to my circumference measurement divided by 4 on this point also. And also the hip line, there is no dart there, so I'll just place the hip divided by 4. So I have 9.5 because the hip is 38 inches. So having done that, just note the measurement that we have on ground. Then the next thing to do is to draft the cup. So I want to draft the bust area now. So the bust area is what before I do that, I will take the measurement on the armhole. The bust measurement will be placed on the armhole. I will just add half inch east allowance, and that's what I have just done. So I said the next thing is to draft the bustier area. So the bust area will be drafted now. The measurement of the bust to under bust, that is the distance from the bust to under bust, will be replaced here. So I will mark it. I replace the measurement from the bust up to the neck area. So I'm going to extend the line here. The dart leg, I will extend it up. It will just be as a guide for me. So I'll connect the sweetheart neckline with my free hand to that point like so. And after I have done that, I'll take the neckline measurement. The original neckline of the basic bodies. Though I don't need the neckline, but it just be a guide. So I will measure whatever is here on the shoulder line. I will divide it by 2. I will mark the midpoint. Then I will connect the midpoint to the bust line like so. So this will be a guide for me to be able to insert my dart. So I just want to place my dart. The mid shoulder dart is what I'll be using for this kind of tube dress. So I'll be using the mid shoulder dart. So from the dart leg, I'll be taking the a dart intake of 1 inch on each side. That will be 2 inches in all, and I can still make it 1.5. So I'll come up from the bust line by 1 inch also. So the dart intake is 1 inch on either side of the dart leg on the neckline, as you can see. So you can still make it 1.5. 1.5 is also good. So I'll come up here. I'll just come up by half inch here. I will raise this place up by 1/2 inch here, then connect it stylishly like so to the neckline. Then I'll hand it here, then connect it to the armhole. So this is the armhole for the front. Then trace what I have dotted, and I'm going to retrace the dotted lines from the neckline also. I will retrace it. So I will retrace it like so. I will stop here because the dart is, this is where the dart stop. So the shaded part is not needed, it will be removed while cutting. So that's why I'm shading it. This shaded part is the dart, and it will be removed by the time I'm cutting the pattern. So I hope you understand that. So after I have done that, the next thing to do is to complete this measurement part. So I'm going to connect the measurement like so. So I'll connect it like so. Then I'm going to add allowance of 1 inch to it. 1 inch is okay. I'll add 1 inch like so. Then connect it the way I connected the former measurement. So having done that, this yoke, this is the yoke. I'm going to remove the yoke since it's a tube dress. So this upper part will be removed. So I have shaded that part also. I'll be removing it. So I'll be adding hemming allowance of 1/2 inch on this part. Then I'll connect it like so. And here I'll add sewing allowance of 1/2 inch on this part also. Sewing allowance of 1/2 inch will be added here also. The allowance is used to turn the lining inside. And from here now, I think we are done with the pattern drafting. I just want to trace it for it to be clear. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do, and give us a thumbs up, and also like and share this video. Thank you. So I can go ahead now and cut out the pattern for the front panel. This is the front panel. I can go ahead now and cut it out. So if you did not, if your pattern is not on fold, you want to cut your fabric, you will be cutting the fabric on fold. But my own pattern is on fold. So when I open the pattern, this is what I have. So this is how it will be. I can sew like this. Make sure the bust point matches with the bust point on each of the panels. Then I will sew like this. I can end my sewing on before the hip line, or I can slit it through to the hem line. Whichever way I want to do my sewing is allowed, and it will be nice. So I can end my sewing at this point, and I can still cut it through, slit it through to the hem line, and join it as different as panel dress. So this is the back panel. I hope you understand how I got here. If you don't know how to draft a basic bodice, I will attach the link to this video so as for you to be able to know that. But I have done this even on my front panel, on the front panel in the beginning. If you understand it, you know how I got here. The only difference is that I added a zipper allowance. And what I just input now is the nipple to nipple measurement, and I will connect it with a straight line down to the hip. So the nipple to nipple measurement of 4 inches was input. The reason why I input 4 inches is that I don't want to cut through. I'm not adding any sewing allowance. I've added the sewing allowance already. That's why it is 4 inches in this case. So I'll just extend the bust point, that leg, to 1 inch before the underbust, before the upper chest. Then I'll take that of 1/2 inch on both sides of the dart leg. So a dart of 1/2 inch is being taken on both sides. So I'll come up from the hip line by 2 inches. Then I'll connect the dart like so. So this is different because you come up to above the bust line by 1 inch, then you connect it to the hip line. That's the only difference in this case, and the dart intake is lower than the front pattern. So just input your measurement like so. Input the measurement. The measurement is the circumference of the bust divided by 4. The circumference of the under bust here divided by 4. Then I'll add the dart intake of 1 inch to it. Also on the waistline, the circumference of the waistline divided by 4, and I'll add dart intake of 1 inch to it. On the hip line, there's no dart intake. I'll just input the hip circumference divided by 4 directly, and I'll connect all my points like so. So then I will do it with my hip cuff like you are seeing it. So I'll add sewing allowance of 1 inch the way I did for the front panel. The sewing allowance and the seam allowance. Sewing allowance and seam allowance is 1 inch altogether. So the neckline for the back is drafted out like so. Can you see how I place my pattern master? It's very simple to draft the back neckline. So I'm going to cut through like so. I hope you understand this. The back is not difficult to cut at all. So I'm adding sewing hemming allowance of half inch the way I did it for the front. I'm adding half inch on the hem line also. Then I'll cut through like so. It's not something difficult. It is very easy to do. So we are done with the back, and this is the dart. The dart can be held like so. Whatever you have done here on the pattern, you can just repeat it on the fabric, and you can hold your dart like so. You may decide not to remove the dart, and hold it the way it is being marked. And you may decide to remove the dart and join it together. But if you are doing that, you need to add sewing allowance to the panels so that you won't be short of fabric. So we have come to the end of the tutorial. I'm trying to remove the dart. If I am not holding it, I will remove the dart and I will add sewing allowance to that part. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do like, share, and also you can leave your comment in the comment section, or if you have any observation, leave it in the comment section. I'm going to give you a reply as soon as I see it. Thank you and God bless you. See you in my next video. Bye. The part 2 of this video will be done as soon as possible. So make sure you are connected, stay connected, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.